The brief summary of the policy is 4 points. One, it bans the bots on applications, so it prohibits departments from asking about criminal history on the application. Two, it prohibits departments from considering an applicant's arrest if the charges were dismissed, sealed, expunged, or if it's a misdemeanor for which no jail time can be imposed. Three, it allows departments to do a criminal history check and consider the results of that check, but only after a conditional offer of employment has been made. So you're not hiring anybody. You're instead making a conditional offer of employment, which is a thing that exists under the law. You're not giving someone a job, but it's conditioned on the results of the check that you run. And four, it prohibits blanket disqualification of an applicant just because the applicant has a previous conviction.
I can understand the spirit of it, but I think of the 15,000 plus Harris County employees that depend on us to provide a safe workplace. I think removing the question in terms of doing a background check and having that information, first of all, no, they can still do a background check and look at this and say, you know what, that was some kind of a white collar crime, or it was not really, it happened many years ago. We're going to overlook that. They can still move on. But to say you can't know or ask that question before you decide the hiring, I think that could have some unintended consequences.
If you decide, if this is adopted, that in your shop, you won't do it, that's fine. As an elected official, you have that option. I hope we will distribute a list of the elected officials that do, or those who don't, for that matter. I'm sure they're proud of whatever they decide.
The reason why we're doing this is because there's a stigma that's associated with having a criminal record, right? And folks can be arrested for all kinds of things, convicted of all kinds of things. And actually, the exact point that Commissioner Ramsey just made is kind of furthering that stigma, right? Is the idea that because someone has some sort of criminal record, they make the workplace less safe. Most of us have family members who have been convicted of a theft or convicted of some crime that is in no way violent, and it doesn't impact in any way public safety. And in fact, we've drawn this policy up for that in a way that ensures that that's not the case. But in addition to that, there's 37 states that have enacted fair chance policies, over 150 counties, as the commissioner mentioned, 150 cities and counties. And there's been no evidence that it in any way impacts the public safety of the workplace in those places. And these are states that are run by governors of both parties, and these are largely executive orders when issued. So these were issued in many instances by Republican governors.
Once a conditional offer has been made, then if there's anything that comes up in that history that you're uncomfortable with, then you can make a decision to continue with the hiring. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you can make a decision to continue with the hiring. You can make a decision to move on, Commissioner.
As well as to withdraw the offer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right. One thing I forgot to mention is that there are certain offices and positions that are exempted from the policy, right? So, for example, there are certain law enforcement positions where you can be disqualified because of a prior conviction. So we're not going to tell those folks that they can't put on their application a question about criminal history.
I happen to think that employers are fair. Employers like to know up front. Employees like to know from day one. And so I'm sitting here saying, I trust people to ask that second question. Well, you got a criminal record here. And what's the story?
I am a firm believer that we need to do everything possible to help those to become productive. But I do not believe that less light and not disclosing things promotes the public goodwill. I think more transparency, more openness, more disclosure and discussion is the proper direction.